In today's Hockey 101, we're going to be discussing that machine we've all seen before that comes out to clean the ice during periods. I'm talking about the Zamboni. I've always wanted to know, where did it come from and who invented it? Well, the Zamboni was officially developed in 1949 by an American inventor named Frank Zamboni. What a brilliant way to have your name forever etched in hockey history. Frank Zamboni invented the Zamboni. He actually lived in Southern California at the time, in the Paramount area, which is actually within the Los Angeles city limits, and he worked, ironically, in the refrigeration business. He made ice blocks for a living. Well, he also owned an ice rink, and it would take his crew of 3 or 4 men anywhere from 60 minutes to 90 minutes to clean the ice after skating sessions. Mr. Zamboni wanted to find a way to be able to get this done faster so he could generate more revenue. In about 1942, he started tinkering around in his workshop, and after a few trial and errors, the Zamboni was invented. The main components of the Zamboni are the tank, which actually holds the snow when the Zamboni goes by and sweeps up the old snow from the previous period. And then you have a wash water tank, which actually blasts water out onto the ice that removes any debris or, say, small pebbles stuck in the ice. Then you have the warm water tank, which goes along and puts a layer of water onto the ice, which smooths it out, and that actually creates the top layer of ice. And then you have the conditioner, which is the part we all see at the back that smooths the warm water. Then you just have to give the rink time to refreeze, which doesn't take long. The Zamboni is moving into the modern world, though. It is a gasoline-powered vehicle and drives around inside a building, which we all know is not good for your health. So modern-day Zamboni companies are actually developing electric Zambonis. And there you have it. Just a brief history on the cleaning of the ice. In today's hockey fun fact, we're going to be discussing the history of the goalie mask. It might seem obvious. Haven't goaltenders always been wearing goalie masks? The answer is no. Like forwards and defense, at one point in time in the NHL, helmets and masks weren't mandatory. It wasn't until 1959 that a Montreal goaltender by the name of Jacques Plante began wearing a mask in practices. His coach wouldn't let him wear it during games, thinking it would hinder his vision. But on November 1st, 1959, Plante was actually hit in the nose with a puck from the opposing team. It sent him to the change room for stitches, and when he returned, he did not go back on the ice until he was allowed to wear his mask. This was back during the NHL years when there wasn't a mandatory second goaltender, so the head coach had no option than to listen to his goaltender and allow him to wear the mask. But Plante did cut a deal. He said that when his nose healed, he'd take the mask off for the remainder of the games during the season. 11 games later, 11 straight wins with the mask on, Plante kept his word, his nose was healed, and he took his mask off. Well, the Canadiens ended up losing the game that night, so what do you think happened? The mask went right back on. The Montreal Canadiens went on to win the Stanley Cup that year for the 5th consecutive year in a row. And Plante went on to win the Vezina Trophy, which is handed out to a goaltender with outstanding goaltending abilities that year for the 5th consecutive year as well. The last goaltender to ever put on a hockey mask was actually Andy Brown, who didn't begin wearing a mask until 1974. Can you believe that? My favorite mask, and not just because I'm based out of Vancouver here, is actually Roberto Luongo's of the Vancouver Canucks. I love the cream, I love the green, I love the blue, I love the West Coast. I love the simplicity of his hockey mask. And there you have it, a brief history on the goalie mask. Hey hockey fans, I am here at Rogers Arena, literally up in the rafters. I am where all of the scouts and the guys that entertain you during the game are. These guys are the ones that, they keep you involved when there's a timeout or a referee's calling Toronto to see if a goal counted or not, or those pesky commercial breaks. These guys are the ones that keep the show rolling. I'm here with Art Green and Dave Levinson, and we're going to just ask them a few questions about what it's like to work for the Vancouver Canucks. When you come in to work on a game night, what's the checklist of stuff you need to get done?
First is dinner.
Okay.
So you got to go to catering and make sure you're nourished for the game. But honestly,
you should probably put brush your teeth in there.
That's right.
First.
Honestly, it's I'll have ideas that we want during the day, certain songs to play depending on who's in town.
Okay.
If Detroit's in, we'll have some Detroit artists, stuff like that. Try to make it a little more, friendly or a little more familiar. remember when Jersey was in town, I played a lot of Bruce Springsteen
Oh, that's the
pregame.
boss. That would be good.
That's right. And
Yeah,
one of the,
that
and a
would be
couple, I
good.
overheard a couple of the reporters who were just loving that it was like Bruce and made
I
them
would
feel
love
at
it.
home. Yeah.
Yeah.
So nothing too specific. Just make sure everything's working and
Okay.
just get in the mindset for the game.
Alrighty. And Art, you come into work in the morning,
Mhm.
whether it's a game day or not.
It is
But on a
true.
game day, what does your checklist of things you need to get done look like?
The first thing I do is email Dave an inordinate amount of emails and telling him what to play.
Sure.
And then he emails me back and tells me that every suggestion was horrible.
Okay.
Why should you be any different?
That's right. First thing, make sure I have staff coming in, because that's important.
Yep.
I have 2 guys per game who operate and keep the scoreboard going. Second thing would make sure that we have all the graphics for sponsors and everything else that needs to be done according to our script that we follow each night.
Okay.
Dinner as well, very important.
And if it's like a 7 o'clock game time, when are you guys up here sitting down ready to go?
We have a production meeting at 3:30
Okay.
every afternoon. So we're at a production meeting, 4 o'clock, we're up here testing, making sure everything's ready to go.
So about the same time the players are downstairs warming up, you guys are up here getting organized too.
Yeah, they're starting to filter into the dressing room and get ready, and we're up here making things noisy.
Okay. And Dave, I personally think that this is a fun question, but you're the man in charge of hitting play. So what's that moment before you get to hit play on the music, like the anticipation to have 18,000 people get super excited over your song?
So it honestly hasn't lost any of its magic since day one, which I remember like yesterday. And every time you try out something new or play a certain song, you think everyone's like, you look out and you see reactions and stuff like that. And it's still not as much fun as pressing the goal horn, or so I'm told.
Have you ever got to do
Never
that?
got to
Oh,
do that. I've been
okay.
negotiating for years. They wanted me to. But it's kind of the same thing.
Do you play the music when a goal is scored?
Yes.
Okay, well that's sort of probably a bit of a parallel.
Still, the horn's more fun.
Yeah, okay, fair enough, true.
But it's great. There's been a lot of fan interest in the music, which is great because we encourage that. We want everyone to feel like they're, a little part of it.
Okay. And Art, I thought for you, it's kind of weird to be like, well, what do you do? Well, I work at Rogers Arena and I'm in charge of having the screens go. Like, it's kind of like one of those fantasy jobs.
Uh-huh.
So can you tell me, when you found out about this job, like, what exactly did the job description say and what inspired you and motivated you to go in and apply?
They had just installed all these new LEDs and all the new score cards.
Okay.
So they were looking for someone to come in and learn how to use it and design for it. So I think what it said was motion graphics artists needed for Canucks games.
Okay.
I saw Canucks, and that's where they had me.
Fair enough. Okay, good to know. And Dave, you have a really cool off-season job. You've worked with Elvis Costello and Diana Krall.
I work for their managers,
Okay.
and I'm what you would call a tour coordinator, a tour director,
That's fun.
amongst every other idea or job you can think of. So yeah, we handle both their careers, which is an amazing and creative and fun job. And it keeps and it's times when we can tie it in when on the cup run we convinced Elvis to come and perform here.
One of the
That's
best
fun.
moments.
Quick
Yeah.
link to the video. They're gonna link to it right now.
Yeah.
And he did Pump It Up with the odds at puck drop, which was a personal victory for me. It's something I've always wanted to do. It went over really, really well. Diana's from Nanaimo. She's been a Canucks fan her whole life, and Elvis really liked it.
Yeah. I
Really
can
loved it.
imagine.
Yeah, and
Absolutely.
their kids are almost old enough to start coming. So
Oh, fair
Yeah.
enough.
And when I
And
saw-
then they can come sit up here for a minute.
That's
When-
right.
When I met EC that night, it was one of those moments where nothing would come out of my mouth.
No, that wasn't it at the rehearsal. Remember the night
yeah,
before?
yeah.
And everyone was
Just-
like standing around.
I hid behind the couch.
It's Elvis Costello.
That's Elvis Costello.
Yeah.
And he's singing tonight. Okay, great. Thank you. Art, team down on the ice.
Yes.
Winning games.
Yes.
Team up here. Coordinating.
Yes.
How many people are involved in your team?
There's countless. People are always surprised, aren't they, when they find out how many people are
Yeah, there's-
involved in a game. So let's just take this room for instance. We have Dave, we have organist, we have 2 guys operating the scoreboard and the LEDs. We have an assistant director, the announcer. Then that is just here. And then downstairs we have a production crew
In the broadcasting room.
in the broadcast booth, and that is a crew of I would say 10 to 12 people who are in the room, and then another 8 camera operators.
So you have stationary, do they move around?
Camera operators move around.
Yep.
Some of them are completely mobile, RF cams, so they can go anywhere that they want in the arena. Other ones have their spots that they stay to. Then we have our audio department. That's
a lot of people.
Yeah, 3 or 4 people.
Yeah. Can you give me everyone's name? Just kidding. We don't have time today.
They're all right there on that list.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. Sorry.
Part of the cheat sheet. There we
And
go.
and actually, just not to interrupt, but we were lucky enough to get an old friend of mine, Kurt Wagner, who is Michael Bublé's lighting designer and operator.
Brilliant
and,
man.
And he's just, I don't know if you've noticed
Lighting.
the last few years, and that's everything. That's textural. That's on the ice with the projectors and
So
everything.
you're talking about like the start of the game.
Yeah,
When
and in
for
between
that
periods at the end,
yeah.
everything.
When a
It's
goal
like
scored.
the one thing you'll get an idea of,
Someone
if
else
any of
has
you
to
out
go
there ever come and sit in, we're all on headset.
Yeah.
And it's very much a show. From 6 o'clock when the doors open until the walkout. And everything, at least the goal, is to have it work in concert with another. Like he's saying, you have certain ads on the board. When we run certain promos on timeouts, the audio needs to match the video, which needs to match the lighting, which, I mean, everything. There's a lot of, incredible amount of detail.
There's a lot to
And
coordinate.
all of us are on headset and all in communication with
That's
each
right.
other.
We can talk to anybody all night.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, one of my favorite parts of a hockey game, besides the actual game itself, is getting here early for warm-up and the show. Because it's so much fun. It gives me goosebumps every time. Like, without fail, goosebumps every time. So, Dave, what was your path to getting here to working for the Vancouver Canucks as DJ Dave?
It was something I've wanted to do since I was in my teens.
Really?
You know, I would go watch games at the Coliseum.
Okay.
And I recall there was a game they played against St. Louis, and this must have been in 95, 96 or something like that. And I just remember hearing a certain song come on after a certain series of events on the ice. It just didn't match. And it wasn't right, you know. Back then it was a lot of organ, but there was still canned music they used to play. And I thought, geez, you know, I could really help out here, you know. And I was a mobile DJ for years.
Yeah.
So I started writing them letters, believe
You
it or
started
not.
writing the Canucks
Yes,
letters?
yeah.
Persistence will pay off.
Yes, I did, and I actually bumped into Brian Burke, who was the GM at the time.
Okay.
And there was a family connection with him, so I started talking to him, and he encouraged me to come down and meet him. Of course, right after he said that, he left and went to Hartford. So that sort of put a stall on the plans. Anyway, I kept. So then Burnaby.
Talk about the restraining order as well.
That's right. That's right. I was all over them, but very well written letters.
Absolutely.
So Burnaby got a BCHL team, the Bulldogs, in fall of '98. And I thought, well, geez, why don't we do that? And then hopefully it'll be a path. And that was right around when Napster and MP3 and all of that blew up right then and there.
Okay.
So it was very easy to have a laptop with 5,000 songs and get anything you wanted. Whereas before it was more mechanical tapes and this and that. And then persistence paid off, but it was the year that they had the training camp in Sweden. So the young prospects had a blue-silver game at the Copeland Arena in Burnaby, and the Canucks asked me to DJ.
Oh, fun.
And I got to meet John Ashbridge, which was fantastic.
Yes.
I've always, the voice. And I met the director, and I said, listen, here's a letter. And she goes, you've been the one writing letters all these years. I said, yes, that's me. And this was in the fall of 2000, and the season started in here, and then I got the phone call, and it was...
The rest is history.
It was just a dream come true.
Absolutely.
My friends got together. There was a Hockey Night in Canada game against Buffalo. And my friends got together. They couldn't believe it because they knew how long I've been trying to do this. You know, I'm born and raised in Vancouver. So I've been very fortunate enough. You know, I take it very seriously, as we all do. But it's been a blessing.
Yeah. So you've been doing this for quite some time then?
Yeah, but I started in the fall of 2000.
Yeah. 13 years.
Yeah.
Good for you, buddy.
Saw a lot of stuff going.
Yeah. Okay, so then can you tell me what's been your favorite song to play?
Probably not, but I'll think about it. It's tough to say a certain song.
Favorite song?
But what I enjoy is when I play something and you hear on the headset, what was that?
Yeah, fair enough.
You know, or I'll get an email from one of the execs, what was that? And Twitter now is great. And a lot of people will text during the game.
What's your Twitter handle?
At Canucks DJ Dave.
Did everyone get that?
There you
At
go.
Canucks DJ Dave.
And I'm some games more active than not, but you can always feel free to tweet me requests or thoughts or comments. I embrace the hatred as well. It's like everyone else.
Then how do you know when it's time to retire a song?
You can hear it. You can plan songs that you're going to play for, say, a power play or a penalty kill, and you kind of know when it's not working. You can hear it.
Feel it.
And then we'll get feedback from the director, from everyone. That kind of didn't work, you know.
Yeah. So then that being
The
said,
best thing was it sort of happens organically.
yeah.
Like, I was a very big fan of the lockout this year because by the time it ended, Gangnam Style was gone.
Oh, fair enough.
So he never had to really play it.
Yeah.
Because I was loathing.
We only did it once, right?
We only did it once when there's lots of kids on a holiday. Spring break, there's tons of kids in there, and they like that stuff, so we'll do it. But as I say, you can tell when a song's not working or we've had enough.
It's funny, graphics are like that too.
Mm-hmm.
It's the songs. Once a song becomes so saturated that nobody really wants to hear it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. We had a goal song in the early 2000s, and we used "Who Let the Dogs Out." And I think we used it. I don't even know how long we used it for, but you could tell when it was kind of it was kind of over. You know, yeah.
Second play.
The third goal.
Yeah, fair enough.
That was it.
When you guys got hired up here, scared of heights? Did you have to overcome any fears? Either of you? Any team members ever have to?
Well, it's our old. We just moved here right from the Olympics. We moved here, right? So 2010. Prior to that, we were just down on the other side of the building, and in front of us, the only separation between us and a 5-story.
Yeah,
fall,
we were down there on that, right below,
and then
leaning over.
It was just remember we just had glass in front of us, about this tall.
Yeah.
And the first time
And
I
little
came up
popcorn
here,
catchers.
Yeah, that was it. Because they would always drop CDs, and luckily the catcher would catch it instead of the fans.
They were always Avril Lavigne CDs too.
Oh.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
Can't explain it.
But the first time I saw that partition and thought that we're gonna have to work up here all the time.
And Art, being the man who communicates with people, and not everyone will admit it, that they would like to be on the Jumbotron during a game.
Yes.
I've been on it a few times with my girlfriend Gina Holden and with my son Hunter. Gina and I, when we come to games together, it's we've always managed to get on, just fluky, and the camera seems to love Hunter. So can you tell
me? It was all
me?
the text messages you sent me saying, I'm in seat this,
Please.
so-and-so in section.
Please do
put
it.
me on
I
the
did
big
do that
screen.
every time. We did it once for Hunter's birthday.
Okay.
Did I? Anyways, what are a few, even if people want to admit it or not, everyone wants to be up on there for a few seconds.
Sure.
So do you have any hints, tips to make it, bring a sign?
Signs always work.
Signs work?
Yeah, as long as it's not rude. Clever signs work. Look like you are at the best game of your entire life.
Okay.
Look like you have just seen the best play in the world. Or look like you're having your own little birthday party in the corner.
Okay.
Or bribe the camera guy at the bottom of your section. Just throw him a 20,
Get his attention.
for sure.
Okay.
Easy.
Perfect. Good to know. Thanks, Dave. Last question. My show for women, people who are new to hockey. So what's one piece of advice you would give them, whether it be a rule about the game, a piece of hockey history, something you think is important for them to know when they first walk into the arena for a game or they're turning on the TV for a game?
I think it's important to know the history behind the Canucks, and the fact that what we have here is we're very fortunate in Vancouver to have one of the great teams, not only in NHL but in the world. I mean, it's the best hockey league in the world, and as serious as it is, it's all about having fun.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Nothing. You shouldn't take anything too seriously. Have a great time. Notice the fans around you. I always, when I used to go to games, I would find that you can strike up conversations. You get people, season ticket holders who are there all the time. A lot of people know each other, and if you have a question asked, they'll explain it to you. Very much so. But it is such a fun thing, and a privilege to be witnessing this world-class stuff every night.
All right, what's yours?
I'm going to say it's if it's your first time at a game, even if it's your fifth time at a game, it's important to keep in mind that there are a team of hundreds of people putting on this show, and hopefully it's seamless and you don't really notice it. You just enjoy it. I mean, it's everybody from the guy or the girl behind the counter serving you popcorn to the girl stuck in the patch bay who's plugging in patches to make sure that sound is going to where it's going and everybody can hear from the 300 level down to the 100 level. It's a great team on and off the ice.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you, Art and Dave.
Also,
Okay.
not to go all technical on you, but when the play is on, keep your eye on the ice.
That's good.
Just as John Ashbridge says
Yes.
at the beginning of every game, the puck moves at an incredibly high speed.
Yes.
And if it hits you, you'll have problems. So keep focused on the game in between the whistles, and really, you'll have a great time.
And make noise.
Yeah.
Make
and
a lot of noise.
Dave's last part is actually a very good thing to remember, because when I did come to my first Canucks game, which was probably about 6 or 7 years ago now, I was sitting in one of the boxes, and I had to keep reminding myself to look at the ice. I didn't have to look at the screen because I wasn't watching it on
That's right.
TV.
That's
So
right.
I had to think about it, and now it's a different scenario when I come to games. But that's very good. Keep your eye on the ice. So, anyways,
And on my
thanks,
screen.
guys, and on the screen.
Yeah, and if you come to more than 1 or 2 games, or if you come to a few games, there's a lot of different areas you can sit in the bowl. My father, when we were a kid, he loved sitting behind the net up a bit so he could sort of see. Other people like to sit at center ice so they really get into the action and you get how fast it is. And other people like to sit up high, like where we sit. All the scouts sit up on the top level here, because there's one thing that you can't hide when you're up this level. You know when someone's a little step behind, someone's a little late, and that's why most pro scouts will sit up top, just to get the best view of the game.
Eagle eye view of the
Yeah.
game.
So figure out where your preferred location is and try and get tickets in that spot.
Perfect. Okay. Well, thanks, guys. There you go, hockey fans. This week's Heart of the Week, ladies, goes to an incredibly good-looking man who has not been voted good-looking by one publication or 2, but multiple publications all over the world. I'm talking about New York Rangers #1 netminder Henrik Lundqvist. Lundqvist was drafted in the 2000 entry by the New York Rangers and has spent his entire career with the organization. In the nearly 500 games he's played, he's let in just over 1,000 goals, but stopped a whopping 14,000. The Swedish-born boy has the most stunning blue eyes you will ever see, a smile that can make you weak at the knees, and the ability to get women to eat out of the palm of his hands. Henrik Lundqvist is actually the spokesperson for the Garden of Dreams Foundation with the New York Rangers, and also lent his voice to the You Can Play campaign, which was started by the NHL to stop homophobia in professional sports. So to say the least, Lundqvist is very charitable. The best interesting fun fact about Henrik Lundqvist while I was doing my research, though, would have to be the fact that he has an identical twin brother, Joel. Joel was actually drafted in the 2000 draft as well by the Dallas Stars and did play against his brother in one game, but now Joel plays in the European League. Henrik Lundqvist, with your stunning blue eyes, your beautiful smile, and your charitable work, and your ability to man the pipes, you will forever be in our hearts.
Milan Lucic, Siegel and Halpern on for the Rangers with Girardi and McDonough. Here's Chara. Toward the net. Deflection. What a save! Save by Lundqvist! He kept it out of the net with a brilliant save!
And Krejci, the only thing he can do is say, please look at it upstairs. This is an unbelievable save by Lundqvist. When it looked like a wide open net, there it is. I mean, it was just spectacular.